started boxing at nearly 14, and then 6 weeks after being in the gym, I went straight into a contest with a girl who had a few fights. Again, they didn't want me in the gym, so they thought, do a favour for a friend, make her lose badly, and she won't come back. I lost in a split decision. Again, I probably should have won that fight, but...
After 6 weeks of
After
boxing.
6 weeks of being in the gym, yeah, they didn't want to go. But after that, I came back to the gym literally 2 days later and persevered, and then I won a fight and just got back into it straight away.
What made you go back to the gym? Did it make you hungrier for that loss?
Yeah, definitely. I think as an amateur boxer, if you don't get a loss under your belt, you're never going to learn, you're never going to adapt. I think someone who cares too much about their record isn't going to do well in life, not just in boxing. So yeah, I think a loss makes you really and defines you as a person.
What I always say to some of my boxers is, you know, records are for DJs, titles are for champions, which many coaches have said as well. So that's how I see it as well. I see amateur boxing now has to be more performance-based rather than obviously winning and all about your record and stuff. As long as your boxer's performing well at a high level or to the level that they should be, you should be a happy coach.
Definitely, and also just being matched correctly. You know, if you're losing against a girl that is more experienced but you're taking more away, then that is not a loss at all.
You don't lose, you learn, don't you? So.
Yeah. Like I've been put in fights with guys that have had like 20 fights more than me, and I've learned so much from them. And if I ever get matched with someone that's actually got the same record as me, I'm going to feel quite comfortable. So,
like Dennis, for example, Dennis actually lost quite a few of his first early fights when he was at Hall Green, and then obviously look what he's gone on to become now. So you know, it don't mean much if you lose sometimes, as long as you learn from it.
Yeah, and he's obviously got his fight coming up soon as well, the rematch. That'd be really good. So back to yourself. Your dad's obviously a big part of your career. He's been there training you and helping out the whole time. Is that always been the case ever since you set foot in the boxing gym? Did he commit as well as you, or?
Yeah, definitely. He committed straight away to me. Obviously, he's a single parent with 3 kids, so my brothers had to come to the local boxing club as well. And when my dad saw how I was being treated by the male coaches, he then went on to get his level 1 coaching badge, so he could be there every night to make sure I'm okay. And then he took me around the country boxing, and because the coach didn't want to really know, had loads of fights with my dad. It was just me and him going to Manchester, Leeds, London, and that's when I started winning. And that's probably how I've reached 83 fights now and 70 wins, because of my dad being there for me and making sure that I'm good.
What a story.
100%, I agree. I think the bond that her and her dad have is all about her success, and without him, I don't think she would have been as successful as she is.
You hear that so much in boxing, and even though it's an individual sport, having that team around you behind closed doors that's pushing you and they've got the right intentions, that's so good to hear. And I'm guessing your dad, he must have learned on the job as well.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know, was boxing new to your dad too when he took on the coaching courses? Was he a novice as a coach?
Yeah, as a coach, he was a novice. I mean, he did like a little bit of boxing in King's Standing when he was younger, but as a coach, didn't really know much. But so he learnt on the job, same as I did. And now we're with Giro, we go everywhere together. He comes to all my competitions for Team GB, travelling the world. So it's great, we do it together.
Must be incredible. And obviously you're looking at the belts behind you at the moment. This is what you've got just so far. It's only half of them.
Medals, everything as well. Yeah.
So when did you get the call up to Team GB to do the trials?
I got the call up to Team GB in 2022 when I won my first female elite senior belt at 57 kilos. I was told you can either stay at home or you can come up to prove yourself as the Commonwealth Games reserve when I was overlooked. So I said, you know what, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to go up and I'm going to show what I am, Elise Glynn. And I did just that. And then Rob McCracken bypassed me onto the podium squad. And I've been the number 1 57 kg ever since. That's
crazy. And you did say previously off air that the person you boxed in your first international fight was the number 1 seed?
Yeah,
is that right?
Number 1 seed from Italy, Matesta. She's ranked world number 1 and European number 1. Again, she's going to the Paris 2024 Olympics. I lost to her by a single point in the European Games last year, which Rob McCracken thinks was a very controversial decision, which stopped me from going to Paris for that first qualifier. But again, bounced back ever since, proved myself and won 3 World Cup international medals since that point.
That is incredible. And in terms of sparring, who have you got at Team GB that you're training with?
I spar with Karis Arting School, again, great girl, great boxer. She won Olympic bronze at Tokyo. There's a few 57 kilo girls that I can spar and the 60s. But we usually travel abroad now to get sparring, to get that different styles.
Do you find that weight doesn't really matter with yourself? Like if you box a girl that's 2 kilos heavier or 2 kilos lighter?
I would say from knowing Elise, obviously she's quite tall. So, and she's very rangy when she wants to be. So I don't think she would have a problem boxing the heavier girls a bit. You know what I mean? Because most of the girls, she's taller or bigger than anyway. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? She's really big for the weight. So.
And what's your style?
My style is usually a counter puncher on the back foot and elusive, but I've been working on recently with my dad, starting putting the pressure on going forward now and adapting, because people are catching on to how I box and it's not going to be that anymore, and I'm going to prove people that I can adapt and I can change and I can work on the inside now.
I've seen that over the last few fights. Obviously, she's been working a lot more on the body work as well. So I think that will help her in her game as well, yeah.
Definitely. It's hard in the amateurs when you work the body. Obviously, it's good for point scoring.
Yeah, definitely. But sometimes when you
pros,
clinch, I feel like not enough amateurs continue to work on the inside. And I think that obviously, as you get more senior level, I think that's needed. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you're obviously a schoolboy, schoolgirl, it's more just in and out point scoring. And obviously, as you get older, it's, you know, you got to work more on the inside, I believe.
So who's been your toughest fight to date?
Not too sure really. I'd say Emma Tester was up there. Obviously she's tall, elusive just like me, so it was a game of chess, but I took it with both hands and I did well, obviously, to lose by a single point. She was good. The Czech Republic girl, the WBC champion in Colorado when I won gold recently, she came for a fight. She was ready. She obviously trying to knock me out in the last round when she saw that I was 2 rounds up, but I persevered and I got through the fight and I won unanimously. So yeah, she was a strong, tough girl. She did bring it to the table.
And I think that's the girl that boxed Raven Chapman.
Yeah, she did.
As a pro as well recently, so that was a good win for Elise, because obviously it shows if she's boxing at that level as a pro, and obviously Elise is beating her in the amateurs, it puts her in good stead for whenever her time is.
Did you take any clean shots off of her?
I mean, probably took 2 shots off her, but I gave it just as she gave it to me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I stood there toe to toe in the second round and did try, and I tried to vary my shots and not just box long like people think I can. It's going to be a lot higher pace, it's going to be quicker, but as a pro, obviously, you hold your feet a lot more, you're picking your shots. As an amateur, you've got 3 minutes, but those 3 threes, they go really quick and you've got to throw a lot of punches in that time. So it's going to be a lot different, but 2 minutes should be a breeze for a fully fit amateur boxer.
I also believe that any top amateur, when they do turn over or decide to turn over, they obviously the pace is a lot slower and stuff, the shot selection is different, but the opponents, I believe, will not be anywhere near what they've been boxing. So until you start getting to your title level, I think it should be relatively easy for a top amateur to start boxing the pros in the pro game.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult for you as well to go from fighting the best in the world to fighting a woman that is just coming to survive for maybe 4, 5, 6 rounds.
I feel like once I've done what I've done with the amateurs, pro boxing is something I definitely will consider. Obviously, everyone's dream is that pro world title, and I know I probably can do it if I put my mind to it. Obviously, I've only been on GB for 18 months and I've already got 3 gold medals under my belt and a silver, so we've done that with the amateurs. It's like, what can I do as a pro? Beat 3 Olympians this year as well, so yeah, definitely 100% I'm considering it. And
do you look up to any of the pros at the moment? Is there any role models that you like to watch on the weekends?
Most skill boxers will look up to Katie Taylor, if I'm honest. I think obviously she paved the way for a lot of the girl amateurs now, and obviously the pros that are turning over. I just feel like in the amateurs you get to a certain point where, you keep boxing, you could get injured, you could take a long time, you don't know when you're going to be boxing for the next big medal and stuff, and I just feel once you've achieved a lot in the game, the next thing is pro, and there's money to be earned, especially in the women's game now. It's gone massive. So I feel like someone like Elise's ability and what she's achieved, I have no doubt that if she does decide to turn pro, and when she does, she will win a world title.
Yeah, Kate Taylor is obviously a massive inspiration to me. I'd say Savannah Marshall is as well. Obviously, she's sponsored by Version 2 as well. She's a big idol of mine. I looked up to her as a kid when she was on Team GB. She's silent, obviously the silent assassin. She's just a polite lady. She goes about her business with boxing and does her talking in the ring. So yeah, I look
she's actually just turned over to MMA as well now, I've seen.
Yeah.
And done very well there as well. So it goes to show the women's game, whether it's UFC, boxing, it's becoming really big.
It is. I love watching women's boxing. You've got Estrada, you've got Amanda Serrano.
Yeah, she's
honestly,
good. Yeah,
she's technically gifted. She's
gone for all the weights as well, hasn't she? So,
yeah. And
I'd like to see her and Katie fight again, actually.
That would be good. And obviously Katie, while she's at the end of her career, the way that she rematched and beat Chantel Cameron, I thought she was going to lose the rematch after the first fight. Again, showing how she can adapt.
I thought, I was going to say that. So I felt like she went back to her amateur style, used her feet obviously in and out. So it goes to show that the amateur pedigree comes into it as well still. Do you know what I mean? It's not just all about sitting down in your shots. Sometimes with them pressure fighters, you have to use your feet. And I feel like Elise has that as well.
Do you study fighters? Do you watch the same things that Gaz is saying? Do you look at their feet and see what they're doing in the ring and the feints? Do you try and imitate it, or do you just watch it generally as a fan?
I mean, I do watch it and observe, but especially obviously I'm looking at the amateur boxers at the minute, so we always look, who could I box at this competition? How are they boxing? How am I going to beat them? But I do the exact same thing as a pro. I mean, I'd always do video analysis, check upon them, see what they're winning, how am I going to beat them in the ring? I'll always come up with a plan, A, B and C, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to be a one-trick pony in either game, professional or amateurs anymore, so yeah.
What would you say is your biggest strength?
My biggest strength is probably my jab. It's fast, it's strong, it's long and it's rangy. Do you know what I mean? I can beat girl on a jab alone really, as long as I just keep it away, keep them at arm's length.
Also, from knowing Elise, she can box both ways as well. Many people don't know she's actually a southpaw, she's left-handed. But just from young, obviously, boxing in the gym with the lads, she always used to copy them. So she's actually orthodox, has been boxing orthodox, but she's got that to her game as well if needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's like Mikey McKinson. There's a few people out there, and it is a secret weapon, really. So what's your plan over the next 3 to 5 years? Do you see yourself world champion by then, or do you want to take it easy in the pros and learn the pro game slowly? Do you want to be fast-tracked? What would be your ideal career when you turn professional?
I mean, I've never had an easy fight as an amateur boxer, do you know what I mean? I drew the world #1 for my first Team GB amateur fight, so I'd say the same as a pro. I don't want to be boxing girls who've had 30 fights, 30 losses. Yeah. But obviously you have to build yourself up, go with the flow and see where it takes me. But yeah.
Obviously, I believe it won't matter with Elise from knowing her and obviously seeing her work with Pete, her dad, over all these years and stuff. First seeing her in the gym at the age of 12 to now, I believe it won't matter who she fights. I think she will become world champion sooner or later after whatever she wants to achieve more as an amateur.
And have you been guided by any professionals about any tips of when it all happens? For example, trying to get that clientele of selling tickets. And I know obviously if you sign with a promoter, it's okay. But having that community of people that back you from the beginning is so important. And I think it's overlooked by a lot of elite amateurs. And sometimes that could be the biggest problem. It's not the fighting that you're doing, it's the
other side of the game.
The other side of the game.
Well, Elise is obviously doesn't know anything about that yet because she hasn't obviously turned professional. Obviously, she could probably speak to like Lauren Price or Caris, who have obviously turned pro, who she knows, for a bit of advice, Savannah and people like that,
Yeah, I've spoken to a few managers. They've told me what it's about, what I have to do, if I sign with a promoter, how it's going to work. So I know bits about the game, but as I say, I've been amateur for a long time now. With Team GB has been my focus, so I haven't really looked into it about what it's going to be, but I'll definitely consider it and what's going to happen.
Personal opinion, I believe with her achievements and everything she's done in the amateur game or when she decides to turn pro, I do believe there'll be some great options there for her with obviously the big names that you see, Eddie, Frank, Sky, people like that. And obviously you just got to look at some of the girls that have turned over. Caroline Dubois, within 12 fights maybe, she's world title. Rihanna Dixon, who actually didn't have an amateur career, I believe she came from white collar. She's now a world champion, so I believe obviously Elise will be there. And
what's your dream venue to fight in when you're at the peak of your career?
Probably the O2 Arena. That would be something pretty cool to do. Just build myself up, see where it takes me. I mean, if I get offered a big fight in America, that'd be pretty cool as well. But obviously it's all like dreams at the moment, isn't it? We'll see where it goes.
Definitely. And so you've travelled quite a bit with the Team GB squad. What countries have you been to?
On the top of my head, I mean, I've been to Colorado this year, Italy twice, Thailand, Hungary.
Where would you say your favourite place?
What's been the favourite, yeah?
I'd probably say Colorado, America, because obviously I beat 2 Olympians there, won the gold medal. I mean, Cologne in Germany last year was a nice city to visit in Germany where I won gold again there. So yeah, I've been to some great places. I mean, amateur boxing does take you around the world and I will miss it when I do leave to turn pro, but yeah, it's been great.
Is Colorado quite high above sea level as well?
Yeah, so it's high altitude, so we went there 2 weeks before to get used to the training. We go every year with Team GB, so we went in October last year for a training camp.
What's been your favourite camp? Has there been anything memorable where you've just enjoyed it with the team? Has there been any good trips?
Yeah, we've done a lot of good trips really. Obviously Italy, it's nice for like the food and the ice cream and the training and the sparring. But I'd say America was pretty cool. I did a lot of fun things like the zoo, cinema in America, obviously all the nice food. But again, you got to watch your weight, and because I'm tall for the weight, it's hard, but it was a good trip.
Do you find it hard to make weight when you're boxing like in a tournament every day? Do you sort of have to starve yourself like most amateurs, or...?
I mean, I used to make the weight quite easily. I've been this weight since 2018. So when I won when I won the Europeans in 2017 at 54, I ate too much food, went up to 59. I was like, Dad, I can't do it anymore. So I went up to 57 ever since. So it's been a long time. So 6 years now at 57? I am strong and big for the weight. As a pro, super bantam featherweight probably, day before weigh-in. But
yeah, you could get down to 55.3, stuff like that, the day before weigh-in. I also believe that Dad plays a big part in her, obviously making weight and stuff, making sure everything at home's, when she's not at GB and stuff, everything's all there. So, they work well together.
Yes, the people behind the scene. Does he do the cooking too?
I mean, I do the cooking now.
You do the cooking now, yeah.
I do the cooking now for him as well. But I mean, when I was younger, obviously 13, 14, 15, making the weight, he'd be like weighing out my food, making sure everything's okay. He'd be watching me get on them scales, no cheating at school, do you know what I mean? At like lunchtime. So yeah, everything was like strictly business from 13 really.
So when I had Jack Coke on, the nutritionist, he said that with women's boxing and the weights, he said he honestly believes that if you're starving yourself to make a weight in female boxing, just move up. He thinks that you'll be so much stronger at the weight you're natural at, even in the pros, because he sees girls that just move up a weight and they're even better.
I think with all this new technology and ways to weigh and stuff and all these new nutritionists, people are obviously finding different ways what suit them and what helps them. Obviously with the women, they have to think about other things as well, obviously, because they're a woman. But I do believe in the women's game, like you just said, you can go up and down the weight. It's a lot easier than the men's because there's a smaller pool of girls. So yeah, I believe that obviously if Elise, or whenever she does decide to turn pro, would go through the weights.
Definitely. And have you got anyone to thank? Any sponsors?
Yeah, Version 2 Lights, they came on board in 2022. They sponsored me and Savannah Marshall. I mean, he's been such a massive help because obviously amateur boxing's expensive. We have to pay out a lot in petrol, food costs, nutrition. So yeah, he helps me each month. So Nick Edwards at Version 2 Lights, they're the television lighting company that did like the FA Cup. I'm a celebrity, Britain's Got Talent. So yeah, he's a massive help. He's always supporting me, messaging me. So I couldn't do it without him, to be honest.
That's great to hear.
I think sponsorship's a massive part in boxing as well because that goes from amateurs even to the pros. Like a lot of small hall fighters, they depend literally on their sponsors. I mean, we know I've known Elise since she was 12. However, obviously she uses our wraps, our Fortress wraps, and they obviously help her a lot and a lot of other boxers. So yeah, I think sponsorship for boxers is needed one way or another, whether it's a product or whether it's obviously a money thing.
So when you were boxing at school, everyone obviously would come up to you and you got black eyes and think, how was that? It must have been a bit strange because it's not normal for kids to be coming in, winning titles and getting beaten up.
And being a girl at the time.
And being a girl.
It was quite new then for girls, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, some of the teachers would pull me aside and be like, is everything okay at home? Like, you've got bruises on your arms, you've got bruises on your eyes, your nose. I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. It's just like boxing. And obviously they took a light to it and saw, and they would keep up to date with me winning nationals and Great British titles. And I brought my boxing to school, and that's when they actually awarded me with the Olympic tie, which was quite nice, in an assembly one day.
That's so cool. How many people were in the assembly? Was it the whole school?
The 200 people, I think it was just my year group. But yeah, it was nice.
Oh, that's incredible. So you're a bit of a hero in the school. Have you gone back to talk to anyone and give any...
I mean, I haven't gone back to my school, but I've been to local primary schools, and the other day I went to Warsaw and spoke to 90 children and showed them all my belts and medals. And a little girl come up to me and was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm going to go to my local boxing club now. And things like that, that's the most rewarding thing about amateur boxing, really, inspiring the next generation coming through.
Yeah, definitely. I think the women's game needs that. I think they need more girls in boxing, more pros to look up to. And I've got a cousin myself, she's only 15, she's a junior two-time national champion, and she's a girl. And I say the same to her, you know what I mean? Keep getting them girls in, keep, being that person they can look up to. And obviously she looks up to Elise as well. Her name's Dolly Fellows, that's another girl to watch out for.
Yeah, it's been such a shift with like the last 10 years, how female boxing has gone from shamed and people didn't want to see women fight, to now some of the best fights that we've seen in the last few years have been the women's fights. You know, like Savannah Marshall against Claressa Shields.
Great fight.
That was huge. The whole event was incredible. That was definitely the best boxer card I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that was all down to them two just putting it all on the line. And again, Claressa Shields, she's incredible. Do you find it hard with certain judgments that you still get when you go to certain... Obviously, when they see you box, they see how great you are. You're a Team GB boxer.
Probably like more when you was younger.
Yeah, more as when I was younger. When I was 13, obviously walked in the gym. Who's this girl? I mean, one of the guys actually said to me, "Why are you here? You should be cooking and cleaning at home for your brothers. Like, why are you here?" I was like... And then someone said to my dad, "Oh, why did you bring your daughter here? Girls don't box. I wouldn't let my daughter box." And my dad replied, "Well, she's not your daughter, is she?" And that's how I stayed. And obviously he became a coach and helped me along the way. I mean, there's not really much of a stereotype now. I mean, the older generation probably look down on women's boxing, but it's obviously becoming a lot more well-known.
And the girls have showed that. They've showed that they can go on and be world champions just like the men. The fights can be just as good as the men fights. I train a few, obviously, girls myself, and obviously I can see what they do in the ring, and there's no difference, really.
How did it make you feel when they were saying those comments, like that you should be in the kitchen and everything else? Did it make you want to turn up even more? Did it make you sort of... Did it push you on, or did it make you want to go to another gym, possibly? Because it must have hurt your feelings at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I was 13, I was a young girl. So hearing things like that, I was like, why are they saying this to me? Like, why can't a girl come to this club? But again, obviously, I persevered, came every night. But again, yeah, my dad wasn't happy. So after winning a European bronze, not thanks to them, probably thanks to me and my dad training, he then drove me 4 times a week to Warrington at Hook and Jab in Merseyside in Cheshire with an ex-GB coach, Amanda Groark. And then obviously I won 17 fights on the trot and a European gold. So my morale and happiness boosted then by my dad making that change for me instead of being at a club that put me down and didn't want a female boxer there.
So who was the coach at the new gym you went to?
Her name's Amanda Groark. She's a female coach. So yeah, my dad took me there. He coached for the adults and kids class, and she took me under her wing and made me happy again and fall in love with the sport.
What did she do with you to get you on that winning streak? What was she learning? What was you learning in the gym?
A range of different things. She just got me really good sparring with a girl called Crystal Barker, again, who was an ex-GB boxer. Got me sparring some of the lads, adapting, technique.
I believe sometimes as well, it's not always about how good the coach is or how good the boxer is. I believe that she might have had that bond with Amanda, and obviously they worked really well together. Obviously her dad trusted Amanda to obviously coach her, and you know, it showed that obviously they worked well together.
Yeah, but you clearly would have, for that reason, levelled up somehow physically and mentally. I'm sure, obviously, if you're happier as well and you're boxing for someone that actually is, you know, you're getting on with, then it probably made you level up so much more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, I won 17 fights on the trot, European gold in Bulgaria, and I beat the likes of Russia, Ukraine, Italy and Hungary. My mental strength was so high at that point. She just boosted me, my confidence. She was like, "How dare this girl get in the ring with you? Who does she think she is?" So yeah, things like that proper boosted my confidence.
And what's your mindset like before the fights, before you go out to the big stage?
I mean, anyone who says they're not nervous for a big fight, they're lying to you. I mean, I get more nervous now than I did in my first fight. I've had 83 fights, 70 wins, and I'm just as nervous now as I was boxing on a local club show in Solihull, do you know what I mean? So it just gets harder.
As you said there, the record itself, like, brilliant record, you know what I mean? So things she's achieved in the game is great.
Definitely. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate your time, and all the best with the rest of the year.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis McCann, professional boxer for Frank Moore and MTK Global. This is Fortress Boxing. A lot more protection, it's a no-brainer around your thumbs, around your knuckles, around your wrist. That's exactly where the problems are. They're very compact, so I feel like I'm punching hard with them on as well. And I feel like when you got sparring 14, 16 ounce gloves, the smaller wraps can't really, they're too small for the gloves, that makes sense. So these are a bit bigger, and they're getting the gloves a bit more, they're making them more compact. 1, 2, hook. 1, 2, hook. Go.